when you ran the TMM in the suit, we were running a lot around each other.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You've actually, in the last 7, 8 years, 10 years, you've stood over 75 podiums. How did that journey start? How did you get into running?
And after we got married, Chandan said that he spends a lot of time on the field and in sports. So I needed to pick up some sport, otherwise, I would be a sports widow. So that was the first time I got my B12 and D3 and things like that. And my B12 was very low. He said, "How are you running with this B12? You should have fainted in the full marathon." I don't sleep in AC. We don't have AC in our house because AC doesn't suit us at all. I mean, I used to go to the washroom and do squats when I was working.
59-year-old Tarun Mateti is a legend in making. She has worked in the corporate sector for over 32 years. Currently, she is cracking podiums throughout the country. She has done number of half marathons, full marathons, and ultra marathons. She's been on 75 podiums in her just 10 years of running journey. She's living the life of longevity. She's a mother. She is a Fauji wife, and she works out, does yoga, strength training, creates amazing content for her social media page, inspires so many women in different age groups and men as well. Let's welcome Tarun Mateti from Pune to the show, and you will have an interesting ride throughout this 65 minutes of conversation. We talk about longevity, ultra runs, recovery, micro and macro nutrients. We talk about her menopausal journey, her journey to excellence in not just her running pursuits, but in her career, in her education, and the support of her family. Without further ado, Tarun Mateti to the show. Hello, Taru ma'am. Welcome to the show. It's so nice to have you here after your recent win at the Border Ultra. Welcome to the show.
Hi, good morning, Nishant. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you, ma'am. I was just telling the audience about the number of accomplishments that you have done throughout your life, and I have to compliment you this that you hardly look like a 57-year-old girl. You look like probably some of our age group, 35, 40, and the kind of fitness that you have is probably higher than maybe a 25-year-old also.
Thank you so much. Actually, I'm 59, going to be 60 this year.
Oh wow, okay, all right. So I mean, when you go and collect your senior citizen card, probably they'll reject you outright.
That's so kind of you. I mean, not the rejection, but what you said.
Not that you need it, because being a Fauji wife, you already have a lot of other discounts and everything happening anyways for us.
Yeah, thanks to Chandan for that.
You have a beautiful family who's been supportive throughout your journey. Colonel Chandan, your husband, he's also a runner. Your daughter Prakriti, who's based out of Australia, she's director of engineering for a leading IT firm. You yourself had a eclectic career of over 32 years. This was just the background which I gave about you. Please tell us something about your, from your perspective about your family, your background, and how your childhood was.
Okay, so we are going back a long way. My parents, both very well educated. My father was an engineer from BITS Pilani. My mom was MA Mathematics from Delhi, and she did her MA at a time when, and that too in mathematics, at a time when women had to really urge their families to let them study. So focus was basically on education. I have a brother and a sister too. I liked to study well. I liked to take part in debates and declamations and recitations and top in my class and things like that. But I had absolutely nothing to do with any physical activity. So any PT class or something, I was always ready with an excuse, a headache in the beginning, and later after I turned 15, It was always, okay, it's downtime, I cannot participate, I'm going to the library. Although that's no longer an excuse, I know. But back in those days, it was. So, and because it was nose to the grind, I also got the National Talent Scholarship after my 12th standard, which back then was a very big thing because it was given to very few students. And then I did my engineering. And during my engineering, I was doing very well. I met my husband, to be husband at that time, and he's a Telugu, I'm a Punjabi. And we had the usual challenges, and we got married pretty early. And after we got
This was
married,
which year?
we got
How
married
old
in
were you?
85, 1985.
Oh wow.
That's the year I also graduated from my engineering, a month after we got married.
Oh wow.
So, and I got a distinction. So
Oh
it did
wow.
not have an impact. And then when
Shattering
sorry.
social norms since the very beginning.
Yeah, true. Yeah, true. I would have loved to continue to meet him without getting married as well, but you know how family pressure is. या तो शादी कर लो या फिर मिलना बंद कर दो. So we said, okay, it's fine, we'll get married. In fact, he had to, as an army officer, you have to sign a declaration that you're over 25 when you get married, and he wasn't over 25. You have to take permission to get married. And and when he went there, he had to sign the form. He said, I can't sign the form, what should I do? They said it's mandatory. So he wrote there, I'm not over 25, and he signed the form. And he got permission to get married. So it's a formality. And after we got married, Chandan said that he spends a lot of time on the field and in sports. So I needed to pick up some sport, otherwise I would be a sports widow. So so I started playing badminton, and I did a bit of swimming also. And that time we were in CME, that is College of Military Engineering. And 3 years later, my daughter was born, and we kept moving. I went through different cities in India, and I taught in various schools as well as colleges, including College of Engineering, Pune, DY Patil College of Engineering. I went to places like Shahada to teach engineering students, and schools, among noted schools is Vasant Valley in Delhi, also Bhatnagar International, and St. Joseph's in Bhopal, and I taught in Bilimoria High School and Kimmins in Panchgani. And then I got into IT. I did some computer courses and got into IT in 2000. And then until 2017, I was in IT. Growing very rapidly because that was the time when technical writing was a thing, and departments and services were being established.
Excellent, ma'am. What a career, right from your graduation to, you know, adjusting into the family life, building the family, and then building your own career. I think it is remarkable what women can achieve. Men can only, talk about all of these things. Obviously, men have their own challenges, but being a woman, you take care of the family, raise the child, and then building that career. I think it is remarkable, and I think it kind of always goes unnoted generally. Probably not so much in the Fauji environment, because Fauji wives, we know, are equally strong when it comes to postings, promotions, socializing, and everything. But generally, society in general uh, need to give more, I would say, honor and acceptance to women, and I think you've lived that life throughout anyways.
Thank you for acknowledging that, Nishant, in general for women.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So let's get back to the running side of it, which kind of prompted me to reach out to you. I saw that you've been running not very long in your life. I think you just started in 2013, which is just 10 years of your running journey, and now you've actually, in the last 7 8 years, 10 years, you've stood over 75 podiums. How did that journey start? How did you get into running? Was there like one event that you might remember, one race or one run, that made you fall in love with the sport itself?
Uh, See, you're right. I started running in 2013, so I've been running for 10 years. What happened is that I was a regular gym goer, and I used to do aerobics in the gym, and we had some competitions in the gym. like planks or standing on one leg and Surya Namaskars and things like that. Of those competitions, there was a competition of running on the treadmill for 10 minutes. Now, I was never a runner. I used to just warm up on the treadmill to do my other exercises. So I won all the other competitions. It was a small gym, of course. And I didn't do great in that treadmill running because I never really knew how to run or how to run on a treadmill as well, run well. So I thought this is something that is like a shortcoming. I used to go for long walks. So I said, let me try running and I'll do 10 kilometers by the end of that year in the Pune International Marathon. So that was my aim, to reach a 10 kilometer. And I went out to run with a friend of mine, and the very first day I ran 10 kilometers. So this so this was not a fast run. It was an easy run. We weren't running by the watch, and we stopped at 5 kilometers to have water, turned around. We just did a casual run. I must have taken 65 to 68 minutes to do that 10 kilometers. And then I really liked that feeling because I had never done any outdoor sports, never played any outdoor games, nothing. Gymming I had played badminton also, but that's all indoors. And I only used to walk outdoors, but this was a different feeling. So that's the time I said, okay, I'll do that 10K in Pune International Marathon, but let me try more of running. And that's how I got into running. My very first event was a 21 kilometer, a half marathon in the August of the same year. I started running in April, May. And in August was this half marathon in Hyderabad, which is supposed to be a tough marathon. And I trained for it easily and went and ran it easily and casually. I did not have a sports watch at that time. I was just running by feel. It took me 2 hours and 5 minutes to do that. I was 50 at that time, and I got a podium. I got a third place in my age category, which was age category was I think 40 to 50 years. I wasn't 50 yet. I was going to be 50. So 40 to 50 years, I got the third prize. So it was kind of encouraging. It gave me the feeling that in my age category I'm reasonably good, and this was my very first one. So I said, okay, I had joined a running group and we had an ad hoc coach, a coach who was kind of leading the group, not charging money though, Michael Francis. And he said, you join the group, you have to run a full marathon. So, so I asked him how much is a full marathon because, sorry, my IQ is also pretty bad then because I was not into that field. I did not
Yeah,
know.
absolutely.
So he told me it's a 42.2K, and I was taken aback. But then I thought everybody in the group is doing it, so I should also be able to do it, and he's taking responsibility. So let him make me do it. So I told him, you train me, I'll do it. So the same end of that year, or rather beginning of the next year, that is 8 months from the time we started, then I did my Tata Mumbai
Oh
Marathon.
wow.
So that's how it was. So it was
Wow.
something that came nice to me and gave me a very good feeling being on the road, and I just kept at it.
Taru ma'am, let's double click on this. So this is April 2013, and you are struggling to even run 10 minutes on a treadmill because you've never run it. It was not an activity which was on your radar. You were doing other things. But within 8 months, you set a target. You were surrounded with people who kind of helped you, pushed you, and trained you, and you were able to do a full marathon, which is very short. You would appreciate now that the process actually is a very long process. What was that driving factor for you personally that kind of motivated you to get into the sport and continue? Most people who might be watching this today end up quitting after the first 2 3 runs itself, or maybe a week, 10 days, 15 days, because you have not used some of those muscles and they start paining right from your hip to your knees to generally feeling fatigued. But yet when you started, 10 minutes was a struggle, and then you ended up doing a full marathon in 8 months. So what was that motivating factor? What kept you going through the 8 months? These are the most difficult times, and what helped you?
In those 8 months, I feel certainly it was the group. Although I run solo now, but then back then it was the group. So when one starts, it's important to have support around you and guidance as well. So it was the group. I did have my share of injuries because my muscles were not developed in the right way for running. I did have my share of injuries, but I had the coach to keep me in check also. So he would keep telling me, Taru, you're going too fast. You're going too fast. Because back then I used to try and run each run very fast. I didn't have much knowledge about heart rate runs and things like that. So I won't say it was any kind of extrinsic motivation. It was the support, definitely, but it was more of discipline. I guess since childhood, I've been a very disciplined person, and I kind of like to complete what I take up. So I had taken on this thing and I wanted to complete it. And I had heard stories from others in the group who had completed a full marathon the previous year. This group was just 1 year old. So everybody was very charged. So all of it, I looked forward to it. My husband was in Hyderabad at that time. I was in Pune, and my daughter was. I think she was working with ThoughtWorks at that time, so she was also off and on out of the city. So I had a lot of time on hand besides my work. So my work itself was 8 to 10 hours every day. I used to work some days through nights also. So I felt that to give me something beyond that work and beyond the gym, this is something that I enjoy. I enjoy those meeting people. I enjoy the outdoors. I enjoy spending time with myself. I enjoy that thrill. So it was the fun factor for me, the satisfaction after having done a good run, that just kept me going.
Okay, okay. So let me summarize this from your journey, because now you are kind of a legend in making. People who are trying to get into running, there are these 5 things that you can do. Number one is join a running group which has a qualified coach. The group will help you to keep going. Number two is you might have your share of injuries, but keep going through it. Learn the entire process of recovery as well as finding the right balance of different types of runs. Third is running might give you a mission, a purpose in life beyond your work, beyond the families, beyond. This is something that you do for yourself and your body. So try to find that purpose. Fourth is just keep going, having a discipline of showing up day in, day out, one day at a time, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, I think will help you to go the distance. Last one is it's not about the distance, but it's about the passion for the sport, the happiness that you get out of it. So these 5 things might help a new runner to get started and not quit midway. Is that right?
Perfectly summarized.
Sure. All right. So that was the part around the running side of it, how you got into running. Now, this particular season, I have been speaking with various people on longevity. Longevity is the subject for the theme for the season. Longevity essentially means living a long life, but increasing the health span as well. So long life doesn't mean that you live up to 80 or 90, but with the support of medical devices and being dependent on others. It means living a fuller life, enjoying the finer things of life. What are your thoughts around it? Because you are clearly on your path of longevity. At 60, you're cracking 100 milers, winning podiums. What are some of the 3, 4, 5 things that you do on a regular basis that are helping you to be driven and live a ultra fit life?
One thing I feel that influences me in terms of longevity is the kind of friends that I have. See, you have to have a good support circle, and you have to have like minded people around you who don't pull you down, rather pull you up. So, I am somebody who at times needs to be kept in check. So, although
What does that mean?
it means that I go overboard at times. So, I might do like 3 workouts a day. Even yesterday, I was about to do 3 workouts a day, but now I've learned to keep myself in check after interacting with these people for so
Hmm.
many years, or doing something in the to the extreme. So those are the
Hmm.
kind of things that I would do now. I'm a bit better person than that. So there are people around me who tell me, keep me in check, or tell me that this, if you want to run for long, you need to put a stop to this thing or curb this particular urge. So that is one very important thing. Second is one needs to learn about oneself through the experiences. So initially,
Hmm.
when I started running, I had injuries for about 3 to 4 months every year for the first 3 years, spread out over. So I was running only 8 months in the year, and the remaining 4 months I was kind of nursing injuries. So I would touch wood and say that that has changed a lot now. I've learned from that. I understood that it's not just running that you have to do. So we have to balance all activities when, if we want to live long. First thing, we have to have movement in life.
Yeah.
And then we have to regulate that movement in different forms. So just if you're running and you're running long, just running is not enough. I balance my running with other activities like yoga and strength training or spinning. And there are times when I'm injured. So if I'm injured in the leg, I do upper body workouts or core workouts. The other thing I learned is about food habits. If one needs to live long and well, one needs to regulate the food habits. So I had very terrible food habits earlier. And maybe it was due to kind of lack of awareness. That was one thing in our generation, that we were the samosa pakoda generation. And I still am.
We are no better, by the way. Probably getting worse in our generation.
Yeah, probably we switched to burgers and pizzas and coke. So I learned how to eat better because I have an irritable bowel. So I have issues related to that. So it was, one is I was forced, second is I learned how to eat better. The other things, if you have to live longer, is you have to become a happy person and a positive person. And there are various ways of doing that. And each person finds their own. Could be meditation, or even running for me is a form of meditation. Then you need to hydrate and get your checks done, because I feel that a lot of people, even young people, we don't really go in for regular medical checkups. I didn't until a physiotherapist told me. I was 2 years into running, and he said that you've run like this, and you're feeling weakness, you need to get your test done. That was the first time I got my B12 and D3 and things like that. And my B12 was very low. He said, how are you running with this B12? You should have fainted in the full marathon. But maybe it was a determination that had taken me. My hemoglobin used to be 8 and 9. And not because of any deficiency. It just used to be that 9 went down to 8, but mostly it used to be around 9. So I have brought it up. Now it's 13. So I worked on it and ate the right food. So getting the tests done, eating well, sleeping well, that's something I'm still working on. And I think I need a long way to go where sleep deprivation is concerned. But sleep is very, very necessary. Meeting friends, having a social life beyond the work friends. You need to have friends outside the work circle, and spend time with those friends. Call them up rather than just texting or watching TV all the time. I would say definitely watch what you would like to watch, but restrict the hours. So these are all the things that I think work towards having a good, healthy, long, healthy and happy, long, satisfied.
Yeah, yeah. We will double click on some of those topics around diet and sleep. But let's summarize for the uninitiated about your mantras around longevity. And honestly, whatever research that I've been doing, and I've been speaking with number of longevity experts and doctors, you have summarized everyone's learnings and crystallized in your experience as well. And clearly, I mean, that shows in the results also. So longevity is a science of living longer while living a healthier life. Here are the 5 Taru's mantra that can help you to live a long and happy life. Number 1 is to have a social circle which pushes you, which makes you feel wanted, and you are able to share your thoughts. Try to have physical meetings, try to have telephone calls, maybe social gathering instead of texting. Number 1. Number 2, work on your macros and micros. The diet part of it is super essential. How you begin is by focusing on proteins, fats, and micronutrients as well. Try to reduce the amount of carbs in your life in general. Add fiber and all of those macronutrients that Indian society is deficient in. Number 3 is getting annual health checkups done, if not biannual. if you're an ultra athlete, and then just adding to what generally I prescribe for ultra athletes, is try to get your blood work done every 6 months, so that you can start working on the deficiencies and they do not flare up when you continue to increase the distance and the stress on your body. Number 4 is focusing on sleep. Getting at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep is important. Number 5 is just adding on to another one is yoga and stretching. The more you stretch your body, as they say, motion is the lotion for body. Getting the right stretches for your body will help in having this cycle of health span, and it'll help you to live longer. So just summarized your mantras, what we just discussed. Let's double click on a couple of these important topics, which is first is nutrition. So you mentioned that nutrition is important, looking at macros and micros is important, but typically when you're training for one of these ultra events, 100 kilometers or 100 milers, what does your diet look like? How many calories do you consume? Are there any particular food groups that you focus on?
So Nishant, I'm a very raw person. So although I am educated, I don't do any counting. So if you ask me how many calories do you consume, I will not know it. And there was a time when I used an app and tried to enter things, and I was so disappointed with what I was eating, and I felt that maybe I was eating too much, but I was not gaining weight. So I thought intuitively it seems to be fine. So I uninstalled the app. So I go mostly by gut feel, by how I feel good and fresh and energetic, and not lethargic. So I have consciously tried to include more of proteins. I don't count them, but I've consciously tried to include more of proteins because Indian food is inherently rich in carbohydrates. So we have to make an effort to include protein. Earlier, I was a vegetarian. When I started running, I included more of non-vegetarian, which is mainly chicken and fish and eggs into my diet. But about 1.5 years ago, I decided to try out veganism. And I didn't really go vegan. I would say I was 90% vegan, and the vegans are going to thrash me for saying this. but since October of 2022 is when I started experimenting with that. I left milk, I left eggs, I left chicken, I also left fish. So it was maybe once in 3 months that I would have a piece of chicken or something. So I was not 100, I was not a vegan, but I was just avoiding all those things. So the 100 miler that I have run is being that kind, except the vacation that I took where I ate everything, because on vacation I don't want to trouble other people with my food habits. So I ate everything. We were in Bali and
Excellent.
Melbourne, so I
That's a
did
good
not.
thought.
Yeah, so I came to this part when I was talking about protein, because a lot of people think that being a vegetarian you don't get enough protein. So I spoke to a lot of other vegans who are in the fitness line, and I understood how they manage. So I was advised to eat more of tofu and tempeh and lentils and a lot of other stuff, sprouts and nuts and seeds and whatnot. So those are the things I started including in my food. Cheese also had left, so that was also not an option. And I ensured that I had some protein in every meal of mine. And in Indian food, if you see, it's always there. You have a dal and you have certain rice, which also has a bit of protein. But I reduced the amount of rice from wheat rotis. I switched to bhakris, millet bhakris. Most often I would have millet bhakris. Occasionally I would have rotis too when it was inconvenient to have a bhakri. And I have proper 3 meals in a day, and I have 2 snacks in a day. I have 2 fruits in a day. I have one of the snacks could be helping of nuts and seeds, but the other would definitely be some kind of a mixture or a bhakar vadi or things like that. The three for breakfast is generally I like peanut butter and bread or oats or upma idli, that kind of stuff. Lunch is a standard sabji, dal, and a bhakri, along with a lot of salad. And the same for dinner. I usually have my dinner by 7:38.
Okay.
And lunch is at 1 o'clock, and breakfast is something I have after my run. So if after the run I've had a protein, I've done a long run, I supplement. When I do a long run, I supplement with a protein shake.
Okay.
So I have protein after the run, and then my breakfast would be at 11. If I'm not having protein, then my breakfast would be at 9:30 whenever the run finishes. So that's about my diet. I don't eat. I avoid sugar. So generally speaking, I don't eat sugar, but occasionally if there is an ice cream, I'll have two or three spoons of ice cream. I love moong dal halwa, so if there's moong dal halwa, I might have 3 or 4 spoons of moong dal halwa, maybe twice in the same day. But then that's very regulated. It's not very often. My tea and coffee, don't I love my tea and coffee, and it took me a bit of determination to switch to black tea and black coffee because I stopped milk. And sugar I had stopped many years ago in tea and coffee, so that was not an issue. Black coffee is something I was worried about, but the very first time I had it, I found that it was nice. We just add milk, I don't know why, because coffee by itself, as black coffee, is very nice. So that's about my diet. I think you asked two things. I don't remember what the other one was.
Uh, so we'll come to that, but I want to again segue into the part of sugar. Let's talk about sugar now. Uh, Sugar, obviously, it's around us. It's in everything that we consume. Almost all products that are marketed today have high quantities of sucrose and fructose in it. How do you avoid sugar, and how do you ensure that you're not consuming it? And second part of this question is that in your races you must be having certain gels also, and gels by default have probably half of it is coming through processed sugar as well. So how do you avoid sugar, and is it really a bad thing? Have you seen any kind of changes in your own body?
So, as far as sugar is concerned, what I avoid is the white sugar.
Okay.
So, if I'm
So table sugar adding additionally.
yeah, or even in sweets, when you in sweets also you have sugar, so I avoid those kind of sweets. Although I did speak about chocolate and moong dal halwa, but that's an occasional thing, and it's
Okay.
not, I never say I never do something. I just do things in moderation, and that moderation varies for different things, and sugar is very highly moderated. So whether it is good or bad, I think it's helped me stay at my weight. I'm able to eat more of other healthier things and still regulate my body composition that is there. I try to read food labels. Earlier, I used to never read food labels, but now if I have an option between two things, so for example, if I'm taking a protein powder, now I look at how much sugar or different forms of sugar does it have, and I go for a protein that has minimal or no sugar. No sugar is hardly easy to find. They would have
Absolutely.
cocoa and things like that, but very less sugar. So that's how I moderate the amount of sugar in the packaged products. I have very less of biscuits and other processed foods of this kind, and butter,
Okay.
cheese, things like that. I'm not really eating butter. I don't eat at all. So so considering that, I think I'm able to avoid packaged sugar. But if a little bit is going in, I'm kind of okay with that. I mean, I don't know about it, so I'm okay with that. It's gone in, it's gone in. The gels that you're talking about, yes, certainly we take gels when we are running, and I think to some extent that is also needed. So when I'm training also, although I'm eating a lot of protein, I also add on the carbs. At times if I'm doing a very long run, then long run I mean above 30, 35 k, 50 k, those are the runs that I generally have sweet potato the night before, or maybe even 2 days before, or in the morning, or during the run. So that's a good complex carb to add to the diet, and it's a healthy food. So that's how I manage the carbohydrates. Gels, yes, I do take gels. I also take dates. Now, dates have got natural sugar in them. So, that is something I'm not. Fruits have natural sugar in them. So, I have fruits in moderation. I have two fruits every day, and one would be a citrus fruit, and the other could be a guava or an apple. Banana only if I'm running that day, otherwise, I don't take bananas. And during the run, I try to balance the gel with date and bananas. So there was a time I went very heavy on gels. So I would take only gels whenever required during the run. This could be a 42K run, or maybe an ultra. Although my first ultra I did without going on gels. First 50K that I did was without gels, and it was also while I was working. But subsequently, I started taking gels. It was kind of peer pressure also in a way, because people said you take gels, you go faster, and that was the time I was focusing on speed. So I said, if by taking gel with whatever training I'm doing, I can go faster. Let me try it out. Then eventually, I learned that dates are just as good. So now I balance dates, gels, and bananas. And now with longer ultras, uh, anyway, after 5, 6 gels, it's very difficult for more gels to go in. And in a long ultra, how many gels will you take eventually? So I started eating potatoes also during the run this time in the 100 miler. I even had rice and dal, a bit of rice and dal, my first in any ultra. But then when you're doing a first 100 miler, there'll be a lot of firsts that you do.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so let's try to summarize your theory around sugar. So, sugar at the outset, you mentioned, is not a really bad thing, but it's obviously it's available across. And some of the things that you can do to regulate sugar in your life is, number one is reading labels. So you should actually turn around the packaging and see what is the sugar content. Number two is moderation. Uh, Not going overboard, not going underboard, looking at it, probably incentivizing yourself that you've done something, probably incentivize yourself and have moong dal halwa or something, or maybe your favorite dark chocolate. Number three is mixing it up with the natural available fructose. It could be dates, it could be various types of fruits, that might help. Number four, going about the gels for runners. I think what is important is to mix it up with natural foods also, maybe a banana, dates, nuts, and then adding some of the gels in between. And number five is, do not add table sugar in your drinks that you have during the day. Is that the correct reading, ma'am? Anything I missed out?
I missed out something. I avoid aerated drinks, so colas and sodas, and I and also alcohol. So these are the things which also give you a lot of sugar.
Sugar. All right. Avoiding aerated drinks and probably alcohol, which again, I think in moderation is fine.
Yeah.
All right. So I think that helps. Anyone who's listening today would take back some of the important myths around sugar or diet or workouts in general. Let's come back to the one of the pillars of your longevity mantra, which is around sleep. You mentioned that you are still learning more about sleep, and probably also struggling with it, trying to learn more around what can be a better way for you. So let's please share your thoughts around what is your sleep regimen like, and what are the things that you are currently missing out, which you like to improve on your sleep regimen.
So Nishant, as an IT person, we work very long hours, and from childhood, I didn't have a very good sleep habits. So I was used to sleeping 4 to 5 hours only in a day, and rest of the time I would be like a productive person, and it was difficult for me to sleep in the afternoon also. So and I used to kind of pride myself on it, call it lack of knowledge or whatever. So in office, people would say, Arey, you were working till 12 o'clock, and we saw that in the morning you were responding to emails at 5 o'clock. Blackberries then were a very sinful thing. So they caused all this, they caused all these problems. So I used to tell them, oh, well, I sleep for just 4, 5 hours. And they would say, wow, you sleep for 4, 5 hours and you're still so energetic. And I would feel that I was doing something good, not realizing that this is a I was heading for a burnout or whatever, or maybe it was just my habit. I could take it back then. My physical activity was also not so much. But eventually I learned that I need to sleep in order to be able to recover, especially with so much of physical activity happening. However, I am unable to sleep more than 6 hours. So it could be less than 6 hours. It's most often less than 6 hours, but occasionally it goes over 6 hours. Most often it is lesser than that, which doesn't give me adequate recovery. So it could be something because my mind is constant. There are a lot of parallel threads going on in my mind. So I'm unable to calm down and maybe go to sleep, or maybe because it's screen time that's happening at night. So there are some things that I learned in order to be able to sleep. I go to bed and it takes me 2 hours to get to sleep after that. So I we listen to people, and we learn from people. Everybody does that. So I listen to a lot of people, and I learned that I need to shut off my cell about at least half an hour, if not an hour, before I want to go to sleep. So that is one thing I learned. Second is that I picked up certain asanas, certain pranayam that people recommended, yoga teachers recommended certain pranayam, some specific ones that I need to do, like the left nostril breathing, which cools you down, and also box breathing, which calms you down. Those are the two things that I learned, and also child pose. Then I also learned certain acupressure techniques. So I believe in a lot of acupressure because it helps me with running aches and pains also. So I learned that acupressure technique also. And this I started doing maybe about 6 months ago. I started with these things, although the setting of the this cutting of the screen time I started about a year ago. But 6 to 8 months ago I started these other things, and I found that I could sleep within 15 to 30 minutes of going to bed, which was a huge change from just rolling around in bed for maybe 2 hours or so, and then getting sleep. And my sleep was also deeper. However, it's still not as long as it I would like it, except when I go to Melbourne. I don't know what happens there. It's the cold or the total de-stressing, being with my daughter, the environment there, the quiet. There I sleep for 8 hours, 8 to 9 hours I'm able to sleep. But then in India, back in India, again it comes back to the same thing. So I'm working on these few things. And I also used to have a lot of coffee. So I stopped having coffee after 6 p.m. and having my dinner earlier between 7:30 and 8 p.m. So these are the things that I'm working on, and I'm hoping that I'll reach that magic number of 8 someday.
Sure, sure. So, do you have any particular protocols around your sleep? Let's say, sleeping at a particular temperature, or having a complete dark room, having certain types of pillows, or the mattresses, or some side of your bed. Are there any things that you are working on for your physical environment as well?
I sleep in complete dark. That is the only thing that I need, and I don't need it to be not too cold. So I don't sleep in AC. We don't have AC in our house because AC doesn't suit us at all. So
Oh,
at the
really?
most
Okay.
it's the fan, and that too only when it's very warm. Then we turn on the fan. So nowadays this temperature we don't use the fan. I still take a sheet. So that's how I sleep. And sleeping. One reason why I'm not able to sleep very well is because I my sleeping posture is very bad. So I tend to sleep 3/4 on my tummy, which is not supposed to be a good posture. Earlier, it used to be completely on my tummy, but then I started getting neck issues and all, which obviously one would have. So it was 3/4 on the tummy. So now I make a conscious effort of sleep on my side. I can never sleep on my back. I just don't get sleep if I'm on my back. So I try to sleep on my side, and my favorite is to sleep on my right.
Okay, understood. Understood. Probably, what I've read is uh, around your coffee. Coffee typically has about 10 hours of half life. So that means it takes 10 to 12 hours of time it takes to get removed from the body. And it takes about 5 to 6 hours for each cup of coffee's effects to wean off. So probably a good practice is to not have coffee beyond 3 p.m., 4 p.m. if you're targeting to sleep at about 10 o'clock, and that might help as well. Again, I think to each his own. But some of these protocols, like they say that your body can rest well at a lower temperature, because by default when you are sleeping, going into a deeper sleep, that rhythmic uh, position when you're sleeping, the body's temperature drops down. So if you're able to create a an environment where the temperature is much lower, you'll have a deeper sleep, and your body will be able to start the repair mechanism much faster, instead of spending some energy in lowering the body temperature and then going in the repair mode. So that kind of helps as well.
So Nishant, to just to add one more point to this, I've also menopaused. So that was probably 6 years ago. And menopause, one of the effects is the hot flashes that you get during the night. Those hot sweats are still continuing. It's been 6 years, but they're still continuing. So that is one factor that for us menopausal women, it is a problem, because you get those hot flashes and you sweat or you feel warm. I don't sweat, I feel warm, so I have to remove the sheet or the blanket, and then within a few minutes I have to take it on again. So that's disturbed sleep, and then falling asleep again can become a challenge. So that is one other factor. I'm waiting for it to go away.
Yeah, I think another good practice is to, like you said, that shutting down devices on 30 to 40 minutes before. I think if we can actually ideally bring it down to maybe an hour, hour and a half before we sleep, keeping it away, because then what has happened is we are so addicted to this device for whatever good or bad or ugly reasons, or work or social media or the artificial dopamine. We are we might think that we are in control of this, but actually this is in control of our mind. And we constantly feel that, अरे उसका फोन आने वाला है, इससे बात नहीं हुई, अगर मैंने गुड नाइट या गुड मॉर्निंग करके नहीं सोया तो probably they will not be able to sleep, something like that, right? And probably that presentation has not gone out tomorrow, the company might shut down. All these kind of thoughts that we have. But it's important to sort of take your sleep as a very important ritual in life, that अरे ये this has to be practiced. Otherwise, जैसे हम we have all kinds of rituals and then relatable punishments also. अगर ये नहीं किया, जूते पहन के घर के अंदर आ गए तो माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिजम्स आ जाएंगे, या फिर मंदिर में चले गए तो तुम जहन्नुम में जाओगे, all those kind of thing. I think we need to have those strong discipline rituals around sleep also. That's the only way we can slowly improve our sleep overall. And I think we athletes need to really focus on it, because all the recovery actually happens when you sleep.
Yeah. And being in the IT sector, my boss used to say, I don't respond to emails after 10 p.m. But then he was not on responsible for deliveries. Like he was. So being in the delivery side, it kind of becomes difficult. And now, of course, now I don't have that constraint, so I should be able to manage things even better. You're right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Coming to the penultimate question of our discussion. So you recently ran the Border Ultra, which is the 100 miler, 161 kilometers from Jaisalmer to Longewal and back. Uh, the distance is 161 kilometers, which is almost equal to 4 full marathons back to back. Running one full marathon itself requires months of training, but you ran almost four full marathons back to back throughout the day. You did it in sub 24 and you won the overall competition, beating men and women
No, this
both.
is only, sorry,
This
only
is
women.
this is women. Uh, this is more than just physical, right? This is so much to do with your mental faculty, the way you've built yourself mentally over the period of throughout your life. Maybe it has taken 59 years, 60 years of your life to be able to reach here. At the same time, what I've seen is you need to tap into a lot of your demons or ghosts or sadness or past. What are some of your drivers? What has driven you to reach where you are right now? And did you have to fight any of those demons? Do you have any of those things that you tap into?
Uh, so Nishant, it still is like a dream come true, and it's very difficult for me to believe. Every time this topic comes up, I say, oh wow, I'm a 100 miler. So it's still something that's sinking in, and it's going to take time to sink in, and it'll probably be my only 100 miler because coming to it at this stage so late in life, I might do 135 miles maybe, but
Never say never. Always in moderation, right? You
yeah.
said that 20 minutes ago.
Yeah. So it's for this particular run, I trained from the middle of September until the middle of December. So just for those months. But then we shouldn't look at only those months as training, because it's the 10 years that I've run and all the other shorter ultras that I've done, that I've run, that have brought me to this level. So endurance comes gradually. So that is one thing. There are people who feel that within 2 years they need to run 100 miler. There are people who are doing it also, but they might be younger, or maybe they have some history of running in their younger days. Otherwise, I would never recommend that anybody should take it on as early as I see some youngsters doing these days. There's so much to do in life. Enjoy the shorter runs, enjoy the speed. See, I went into endurance because speed was giving me a bit of trouble. I would get injured every time I would go too fast. At my age, I did at whatever 55 or 57, I did a 50-minute 10K run, which is good, which I think is good. I could have gone faster also, but I was getting injuries. So one needs to look at the constraints that one has and build on the strength. So my strength was endurance, so I picked on endurance, and I found that I have this ability to when you do ultras, you have to walk also. You have to take walk breaks. You can't keep running continuously. Yeah. So I have this ability to recover quickly from the speed when I take a walk break. From not speed, but whatever running I'm doing when I take a walk break. The other thing I found is that I am able to walk very fast. My brisk walks are truly brisk because I have a long history of walking in the earlier years. So this has helped me graduate to ultras well. And I love hill training. I've brought myself to like hill training, hill running. And anything that you like, it also comes by training more on that. So initially I was very scared of hills. I trained more on them. I started loving them, and they became my friends. So I like hill running, and I also like trail running, although I have a challenge of balance. I have a very big challenge of balance. So I avoid trails to some extent, and I yet do those trails to improve on my balance, and that's my target for this year, to do more of trail running. Uh, these are the things that I worked on. To be honest, it's very difficult for me to pinpoint any demon, because I think what we need is consistency, we need dedication, we need discipline, and we need to not keep waiting for motivation. So the major demon that I fought is that my husband sleeping next to me would say, आज मैं भागने नहीं जा रहा. So that day to get up and go out and run would be a challenge for me, because we were both supposed to run, and he says, I have a niggle, I'm not running, which happens quite often, because he runs a lot lesser than me, but he's very strong because he has his basics in place. And he was a physically very fit person, and I got into it very late. So there are no demons, it's only dedicated practice and the kind of training plan that I got. It gradually, the training plan was fantastic, and it took me gradually through the distance based on my strengths. And it was not too much, it was just right. I did 498 kilometers in November. I did more than 400 kilometers in October. And then when I went to the start line, I was confident that I would complete this run as long as I did not have any issues. So I had a lot of physical, I had aches and pains, niggles that were there, I was worried about, but I was treating them through physiotherapy, massage, and acupressure. And I was taking supplements very regularly. I was doing my foam rolling. So all of these things, being regular with them, it was a dream training for me. I did not have to take downtime. I followed the training plan 99%. The 1% was things like I had run too fast, so I stopped 2 kilometers early, or we were running in the afternoon from 11 up to 2 p.m. So I walked the last 2 kilometers instead of running the last 2 kilometers. That was the kind of 1% deviation that was there.
Wow.
So when people say what was difficult and what demons did I have to encounter to fight for this particular ultra, there were none. Maybe I had fought most of them earlier, like maybe feeling very burnt out midway during an ultra, or mind wanting to give up. I had built on mental strength as well as physical strength, and I drew on all of it that I've done during the training, during my run. So I never during the 161 kilometers, which is actually from Jaisalmer right up to Longewal. It finishes at Longewal, goes through via Ramgarh. So not once did I feel that I wanted to stop. I just thought, okay, this portion I did in training that day. This portion of the day I did in training on that day, and I don't have a fear of dark also. I don't know. Otherwise, I have fear of dark, but while running, I don't have fear of dark. So this is a very dark run at times, because this time it wasn't full moon. When I did the 100K, it was full moon. This time it was very close to new moon day. So it was a starry night, and actually you can see ghosts dancing on the cacti around you. But it was a dream run for me. It was an easy. I didn't mean, I can't dare to say that an 100 miler was an easy run, but I
But it
felt,
was in your easy pace,
yeah,
easy
it was
zone.
easy pace. I did my run walk balancing very well. I had no clue about when I was finishing, because at 140 kilometers my watch had died, my cell had died. So I did not know whether I would do a sub 20. I hadn't even targeted sub 24. It's only when 50K I reached at a decent time, I thought maybe sub 26 I'll be able to do. Cutoff was 28 hours. When I started my cutoff, my deadline was, target was 28 hours. At 50K I revised it to 26 hours. At 100K I got my 100K PB here. I thought I would definitely be able to do sub 26, but then the way I kept going, I think it is the training, the best wishes of my friends, well wishers, the prayers, my prayers, my supporting family's prayers, everything that whatever aches and pains I had, or the blisters I had during the run, I could bear that pain.
Absolutely. I think very well put, ma'am. What I've seen is, as a coach, I've been coaching for about 5 years now. It's going to be 5 years soon. What typically newbies or people who are still learning the sport end up setting up a lot of big goals without backing it with a structured training program. And what a structured training program does to you is not just physical, it's a lot mental. Of course, physical, you have to, we discussed about those things like showing up and doing the distance and all of that, but mentally, I think it equips with so many tools in your arsenal, mental tools in your arsenal that help you to, reach out to those tools at different times of your particular endurance event. You spoke about it, like the 11 a.m. to 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. runs. Those are things that you learn when you have done those things. The different scenarios you talked about, hill training, I think those come in handy when you are finding it so difficult to even keep the next foot forward. You feel like giving up, but you then suddenly remember that, Arey, there was this trail, I was feeling really bad and nervous, but I went ahead and did it anyways. You discussed about nutrition, you discussed about eating different kinds of foods, natural and unnatural and processed, but mixing it up. These are all tools. And then, of course, the mental capability. I think I would appreciate your lifelong discipline of being able to, approach not just education side of it by, getting in distinction in your engineering way back when you were in your early 20s. That probably, obviously, that would have happened because you were disciplined. You built that through, you also talked about your childhood where you were always a top tier student, then going ahead and teaching hundreds and thousands of students. I think all of this builds a kind of mindset which is around discipline, right? Because when you are the best version of yourself, then only you can actually give the 10x or 100x or 1000x as a teacher. So I think the training program, and life is also a training program, right? It is helping us build so many tools that we can tap into, and then all of it can come together when you're really self aware that no, let's not give up. This is something I've been through. This is a bad patch. Let's just keep going one step at a time, and there will be light when when you approach, and the sun will rise, and finally you will cross the finish line. So amazing. I think so much to learn from this story of yours.
Uh, Thank you, Nishant. Another thing that I missed mentioning is that we did a lot of night runs. So that was sleep deprived runs, because here I needed to run maybe up to 28 hours. So it would be sleep deprived runs. So I did the Hyderabad Stadium run, which was a 12-hour night run, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. And obviously we hadn't slept. I hadn't slept after waking up that morning, and then I started running at 6 p.m. and ran till 6 a.m. So that also builds not just physical strength but mental strength.
Hmm. Excellent. Wow. I feel our conversation, just like your ultra runs, can go on, and I have so much to discuss with you. But what we typically do is keep the podcast in around 60 to 65 minutes. And hence, because the audience is kind of, now built in a way which is around 60 minutes. So let me ask you the parting question. While you have been sharing so many stories throughout your life and your running journey, uh, still I want to ask this question. The people, the youngsters like us, are super stressed. They are trying to build a life. There is so much pressure from social media, from the social society in general, to showcase a life which is all about being happy, or being, always showing the best version of yourself, enjoying everything, and probably not putting in the work, and at the end of it just getting disgruntled or dissatisfied and stressed in life, because even the amount of screen time, the less the food availability, all of these things are not making you fitter version of yourself, and there's so much stress. You've been through this journey. What are some of the mantras you would like to give the youngsters to cope with stress and become a better version of themselves by taking up any form of fitness?
So actually, the answer is in your question only, that they
That's
need
a
to take up.
teacher saying.
They need
That's
to.
the
They
teacher
need to.
talking.
They need to pick up some form of fitness. So although I am a runner, I do other things as well. So I would certainly not focus only on running. I would say that if they can run, very good. It's a good aerobic cardio activity. But if they can't run, it can be some other activity. They have to make themselves a priority. So work is priority. Cut down on something, whatever you want, but put in the physical activity that is required. It will keep you happier, fitter, and you will be able to focus better on your work, and the stress will become lesser. So this physical activity they need to do minimum 5 times in a week, and could be 45 minutes to an hour, or maybe even 30 minutes. I mean, I used to go to the washroom and do squats when I was working in between, and at my or I would take standing and moving meetings, or just at my desk stand and do calf raises. So I'm just giving examples. Women making tea, while making tea you can do squats, you can do calf raises, you can do side bends, a whole lot of things. That is not structured training though. What I'm talking about is pick up a physical activity, anything you like. And I don't walking is good, walking is definitely good, but I don't include walking in this. I say other than walking, anything. It could be yoga, it could be strength training. For women, I would definitely recommend strength training. Could be body weight strength training or with weights. Do it 3 to 5 times in a week. and minimum of 45 minutes to an hour. You can break it into 2 sessions, you can break it into 3 sessions. Don't be too fixated in the mind. It can be done online, it can be done with the coach's help. Initially, if you don't know things, it's better to get a trainer or a coach or a friend to show you the correct form. And one thing is, if you cut down on screen time, you can definitely make a lot of time for yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely. It has been an honor, ma'am, Taru ma'am, speaking with you, sharing so many nuggets of life, and I'm so happy that you've, your 60 years of experience you've crystallized in this 60 minutes is just so amazing. Hope that we get to run together somewhere, some race, and most certainly would love to, have you back on the show sometime soon in future seasons. But this has been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for agreeing to share your wisdom with our viewers. Uh, any parting thoughts, any last message you'd like to give anyone who's watching or listening?
Before the parting thoughts, Nishant, let me thank you for inviting me. It's been very good talking to you, and I have a tendency to ramble, and you've been summarizing my thoughts very well. And about running together, you don't remember it, but when you ran the TMM in the suit, we were running a lot around each other.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and until of course maybe the suit was a little. I was also doing a training run because I had an 80-kilometer run the next weekend after that. So this was a training run for me, and for you in a suit, I'm sure it was something that you were proving to yourself and to the rest of the world, which you did, because I definitely noticed you. So we have run, but we consciously run together.
Oh, yeah. Wow, I didn't know that. Imagine the way lives are intertwined, it's just, I think, serendipitous that we are here. And I did not even know this till the very, till the time you told me. So amazing.
Yeah, and about the parting thoughts, I would say that balance is very important in life. So all of us should try to achieve balance, be it in relationship, work, family, social, and not compare ourselves with other, because each person's journey is different. So draw inspiration, get motivated, but ultimately what will take you further is the own discipline, dedication, consistency, so and balance in life.
Excellent. Thank you so much, ma'am. It has been an honor. I hope you continue to smash records that you've been doing and continue to break stereotypes that you've been doing throughout your life, living fuller lives in every pursuit that you have chosen to pursue. Hope you have the life of longevity and continue to inspire the community as well. Thank you once again. Thank you to the listeners. If you've been patient and kind enough to have stayed for the last 65 minutes, we hope that you continue to train in a way which is joyful and brings longevity in your life. Let's continue to train, endure, conquer your lives. See you in the next episode.